let's just get started with some of your thoughts on it from what we talked about prior, and I'd love to see kind of what your thoughts are in the current situation and what you're doing to lead during these times.
Sure. Yeah, it's absolutely a challenging situation. The term unprecedented keeps popping up all over the place, and I think in many cases it is. I'm really pleased and surprised by my organization's ability to adapt to our new way of working. We started last Monday working remotely 100%. So building closed, all 250 people, go home, go figure this thing out. And what's been interesting is I've spent the last, I don't know, it seems like forever, but certainly at least the last year or two, really pushing leadership and the rest of the organization to adopt some of these online tools and collaboration tools and such. And we have on a limited basis. We're an Office 365 customer. So, we've kicked around with the Teams and the SharePoint and things like that. And we do meetings and the likes, and we've used GoToMeeting and such, but we've never had to do something like completely work remotely. And I've been really pleased with how well the organization's adapted to that. Especially given the challenges I've had. But we've been doing things like, we had a collaboration group that we set up last fall to really start looking at collaboration and trying to figure out what barriers we need to break down and the likes. We started things like setting up soft phones for our call centers. We have a couple different call centers around membership and other resources. So we started setting up soft phones for them. And we were just in the deployment of really heavy deployment in both these areas when this hit us. And so we were able to mobilize quickly. We were just in front of that wave as it was crashing along. And so we had the tool set available. It was a matter of getting implemented and getting people up to speed. And so I felt really good about our organization's ability to adapt. But the big question that comes to me, and I mentioned this in my message to you, it's like we've boiled the egg. This whole remote working thing, we've boiled that egg. Now it's there, and we can't go back, or we probably won't go back. And so for me, I look at 4 different areas of our business, and the easy ones, employees, right? Employees, we haven't done this on a large scale. Many of our employees teleworked 1 or 2 days a week, but that's not remote working. That's a totally different, running your whole function remotely is very different. But people are now becoming comfortable with things like video chats and video conferencing, online conversations, real-time document collaboration, things like that. And I think when the all clear signal comes, I'm not sure we go back and work the same way. I'm not sure that we have the same policies organizationally that limit remote working or teleworking, or do we look differently as far as employees? Do they all have to be local, or can now we recognize that we can work with people throughout the country? So that's one area. And then a few other areas, we're an association, large association, 60-some thousand physician members, and we do an annual meeting every year. And our annual meeting was booked for late next month, late April, and we canceled the meeting, but we still have a bunch of obligations around the annual meeting. Some of them are written into our bylaws. We also have our members that are counting on us to deliver continuing medical education, CMEs. And so, how do they get them? We have presenters that have prepared for their presentations to speak at these conferences, and it's important for them professionally. So how do we develop this platform? How do we deliver a virtual meeting to all of them? And then, once again, the egg is boiled, right? Now that we do it, and if we do it well, does that big annual meeting where everybody gets together, does that still exist in the same way? Are people still inclined to hop on a plane and come and congregate in large masses? I don't know. I think that changes. And I think we as an organization have to adjust to that. A couple other areas that strike me as one is, we do a lot of clinical guidance, material development, and we've pushed really hard for these member leader groups to bring their committees together online and do this virtually and use the collaboration tools. We've gotten nowhere. Well, now they have to. And so does that change what we do for our clinical guidance development? Or are there new approaches? Are there new tools that we need to provide to them? And then finally, when we look one step further, really, it's not just about your primary customer. It's your customer's customers. So our customers are physicians, our members, and they're practicing differently now. A lot of them are starting to do telemedicine, and they have to rethink how they practice. So what does that mean to us as their primary medical association? Do we have to provide things differently to them? Do we provide them guidance on telemedicine and the tools that we've not thought of, and that hasn't been in our area of responsibility? But do we have another calling from our members? So these are the kind of things, like I said, I don't know how you unwind this. We have what we have now. And then so I look at my IT response. Things are different. For Office 365, we use SharePoint and Teams, but we've just kind of let it sprawl, not done a lot with it. And so what do we do now about backups and security and governance and things like that? And then support, right? We don't have a formal Office 365 administrator to run our team sites and to set up SharePoint sites and the likes. We don't have a technical trainer that's helping people with all of these. We're just kind of pitching in, and everybody's doing all they can. And I've instructed my team to, over the first couple of weeks, this is all about making everyone successful. But at some point, we've got to go back and do our jobs. And so what do we do? And another thing, just two other real quick things are, one is workflow and capabilities, functionality tools to do workflow, and the business analysis skills to do the business process reengineering efforts. I mentioned that, okay, things have changed. We're going to do business differently. Now what? Like, who's going to help the business think about how to do their business differently? Who's going to identify what the requirements are and the needs are of the tools and find the right tools to make them successful? And so I just think it's going to be really challenging for us, and challenging in a great way. This is helping us drive some stuff that we've wanted to do for a long time, but we've got to rethink staffing and our approach to supporting our internal business and our members. So a lot's changed.
I love your perception of what's our customer's customer. And like my vision is securing the lives of 1 billion people. Well, there's not even 1 billion CIOs in the planet. How can we possibly secure a billion CIOs? But it's not the CIO, it's the customer of, it's not even the employees of the CIO, it's the customers of the business that the business it's interacting with. And so you're looking at, okay, what's our customer's customer? So what's our physician's customer? And then how are they going to do their work? Because that's going to allow you to respond. It's a powerful thought question, isn't it? It
is. And we're not geared that way as an organization. And I really think this is the time where we need to step up and think differently.
Yeah, and it's. I know you and I have talked for years about how a older, more mature companies are going. The quote unquote legacy company, but how does an organization that has sort of entrenched principles and sort of like ways of doing things, and it's on a slow, the slow disruption curve. Now there's no slow anywhere with anybody. It's like
we're all disrupted. We're all disrupted at once.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing, because I think that levels the playing field. So for a legacy company, they're now forced to look at things differently. I think it's important for us to be in this position where now we're right there, and it's up to us. And so I wrote this long message to our CEO on Saturday. She's probably tired of me coming to her with, oh, we can do this or we should do that. But I wrote this long message, and it was one of those Kennedy kind of speeches of, if not us, who, if not now, when, right? I really believe that.
Yeah, no, and I love it because the way you've laid this out, you're a great starting point for, as we launch 100 CIOs in these, I call it messages of hope, but we just can't afford to awfulize through this. This is a profound leadership opportunity. I think it potentially can be an accelerator for those companies that would have been dying anyway. It forces everybody to step up and go, you know what? I don't know what remote work looks like anymore. It doesn't feel good right now, but we got to figure it out because we've got to have an agile enterprise. We've got to have the ability to have agility because our customers need agility and our customers' customers need agility. And we can't be paralyzed. Like this is not a good situation. And so how does business respond to this throughout the world, but certainly within your ecosystem? Because
absolutely,
I mean, it's a huge opportunity, and it really forces us to think very clearly. And I look a year from now, how do we want to be looking at this situation and what progress we've made?
Right. I'm right there with you. And I don't want to sit around and let this go by, right? I don't want to just survive through this. We've got to thrive.
Well, Mark, I really appreciate coming on the show today, and this is going to be a great kickoff for the folks in the other IT leaders that are going to be absorbing this. So thank you.
Thanks, Bill. And I've said this many times. I really appreciate what you're doing for the IT leadership in this area. It's awesome. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark.